Okay, we'll start with this. Veteran boxing scribe Fernando Sabatini says they informed me that Senicia Estrada will next move up from minimum weight up to light flyweight to face Argentina's unified champion Evelyn Bermudez. And they confirm it will go down in the United States for what are Evelyn's IBF and WBO titles. Thus, a rematch with Yokasta Valle will have to wait. Somewhat conflicting information, conflicting news, because I heard a blurb about Evelyn Bermudez facing former champion Yesenia Gomez of Mexico in defense of her two alphabet titles. I don't know if Evelyn means to face Yesenia before she fights Senicia. I think that will require some reconciliation. In any event, I'm not surprised to hear that Senicia will be moving up in weight and taking on one of two unified champions in the light flyweight division. There is Evelyn Bermudez, who holds the IBF and WBO titles, and Jessica Neri Plata, who holds the WBC and WBA titles. Senicia Estrada could become an undisputed champion at a second weight in as little as 2 fights. So I don't think it's going to be easy. Not as easy as the Annabelle Ortiz fight was at minimum weight, or the Tina Ruprecht fight. No. At light flyweight, the girls up there will be able to push a little harder, punch a little stronger. I think Senicia outgrew the minimum weight division. That's what I think. In her last 2 fights, she looked more human than I've ever seen her. A bit more vulnerable, got hit a little bit more. And I think that has everything to do with Senicia outgrowing that division. Over time, the weight perhaps became very difficult for her to make, and it manifested in her performances, though not before she managed to become that division's undisputed champion the way I said she would. And she did. Though she labored with Yokasta Valle a lot more than I expected her to. Turned out to be a harder fight than I expected, more competitive, but in the end, Senicia did get the job done. Now she's moving up to light flyweight to see if she can't repeat that up there, become an undisputed champion up there. I think she can beat Evelyn. She can beat Evelyn Bermudez. She's amassed enough experience throughout her professional boxing career so far across 2 or 3 weight classes, 3 divisions, that I think she's ready for a fight like this. The aesthetic of this match will be similar to the aesthetic of the Tenkai Tsunami fight that she had back in July of 2021, 3 years ago. Tenkai Tsunami, a long and limber volume puncher, very aggressive. That's what Evelyn Bermudez is. She's long and limber for the weight. She's aggressive. She's a volume puncher, though outside of the straight 1-2, when she's putting punches together, she can often lose form. Things can get chippy mid-range to inside, where Senicia Estrada comparatively shows a better variety of punches. There's just a lot more in her arsenal, and physically, she's got faster feet with faster hands. Thus, I anticipate the aesthetic of this match is going to look a lot like the aesthetic of the Tenkai Tsunami fight that she had 3 years ago, where Evelyn can push her and give her something to work around, though ultimately it will be Senicia Estrada that has her hand raised. I don't imagine this fight ends in a knockout. Even if Senicia wins, Evelyn is tough. Those Argentinian fighters often are. They can take a shot and they can hold a shot. I don't think Senicia stops her. She can win a points decision. And so she's set to move up to light flyweight, putting a Yokasta Valle rematch on hold. In truth, I didn't think there was going to be one, and the only one talking about there being a second fight was Yokasta Valle. Senicia Estrada never made any mention of running it back with Yokasta. In fact, immediately after their fight, she said the opposite. There's not going to be a rematch, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason to stay at minimum weight, so that takes care of that. Know that Evelyn Bermudez is a common opponent between them. Between Yokasta Valle and Senicia Estrada, I'm sure that Yokasta Valle will be sure to bring that up in the coming weeks and months, that Senicia doesn't want to fight her again. She would rather fight someone that Yokasta already beat. She's going to use that as an angle. An angle to make Senicia Estrada look bad. Senicia, who's done at minimum weight, she's going to vacate all the titles that she won there, and Yokasta can pick one or some of them up. As Senicia ramps up her light flyweight campaign, Fernando Sabatini didn't give an exact date or an exact time frame as to when we can expect Estrada versus Bermudez to take place, only that it would happen in the United States. I figure, with August right around the corner, I don't think it goes down in August. Maybe September, maybe October.
Maybe then.
Something to look forward to. It's what I expected. Now that Sinisia's already become an undisputed champion at one weight, she's going to try to do the same thing in another. And super middleweight news, according to veteran boxing scribe Mike Kopinger, Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga is reportedly now being finalized for Canelo's undisputed WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO super middleweight titles on September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, much to the chagrin of many a David Benavidez fan. Let's be honest, that's the fight we want to see. That fight has more traction than this one, more in terms of demand. And I'm not a David Benavidez fan myself. I'm not a David Benavidez supporter, but I do think of David as being more proven at this weight than Edgar Berlanga. It seems Edgar, in spite of being the mandatory challenger, you have to ask yourself, what has he really done to deserve this fight? What has he really done to get a shot at Canelo ahead of David?
Ahead of William Skull.
Don't forget that before we got here, an order from the IBF came down ordering Canelo Alvarez to fight William Skull, and a step-aside deal was reached, leaving the door open for them to make this fight. But if Canelo Alvarez wins, and most people are thinking that he will still have William Skull to deal with afterwards. And they better get ready to make another step-aside deal, not dissimilar from what we saw at 154 pounds when it came to Bakram Murtazaliev.
You know how Bakram became the mandatory way back there in 2019? But he didn't actually get a shot until recently, very recently. And it's because step-aside deal after step-aside deal after step-aside deal was reached.
They may have to do that with William Skull. They might have to reach another step-aside deal after this upcoming Berlanga fight, because I don't think it's Canelo's intention to fight that guy. I think after the Berlanga fight, Canelo might fight Terence Crawford. That seems to be the plan. If Crawford makes it through the Madrimov fight and Canelo makes it through the Berlanga fight,
they'll fight.
And William Skull, once again, will have to be compensated, paid to step aside, like Bakram Murtazaliev was by Jermel Charlo more than once. At 154, that might be the case. At 168, when it comes to William, truth, nobody wants to see Canelo Alvarez fight William, but not that many people want to see Canelo fight Edgar Berlanga either.
Not really.
The Boo Birds and the usual suspects have already started to react to this news, and as you can imagine, they're not happy. They wanted it to be David.
Is any of this hurting Canelo Alvarez's drawing power? His marquee value?
What, that he's fighting Edgar instead of David? I mean, at least superficially it is. You can see how people feel about it online. Though whether or not those people that are complaining, the people that don't like this fight, whether or not those people can have any impact on Canelo's drawing power, all hinges on whether or not they're his customers.
What?
That unless you're already one of Canelo Alvarez's customers, and you decide you're going to boycott this fight, you're not going to give him your money for this one.
I'm not following.
The only people that can have any effect on Canelo Alvarez's drawing power are his existing customers, because if you're one of these guys that steals all the content you watch, then what you think and what you want doesn't really matter.
You weren't buying any of that shit anyway.
You can't have a tangible effect on Canelo Alvarez's drawing power if he wasn't drawing any money from you anyway. The only people that can affect Canelo's sales, his marquee value, are the people that were already paying to see him. If they decide they don't want to pay to see this,
then that's bad.
Bad for Canelo, because now you're pushing it. Now you're starting to piss your own fans off. The question is, are the people complaining about this fight, are those Canelo Alvarez's fans or David's fans? David Benavidez's fans?
Because if those are David's fans, seems to me that David's fans don't spend that much money on boxing anyway. He's been on pay-per-view 2 times and he didn't sell nothing.
It's not enough for you guys to make a dent, to make it matter. It's just not enough. And at least right now, momentarily, we still don't know what David Benavidez is going to do. Is he going to campaign at 168? Is he going to campaign at 175? What is he going to do? Because the week extension the WBC gave him has come and gone, and we've still got no word as to what he's going to do moving forward. Maybe that word will come down by the time that this video is uploaded.
We'll see.
Commercially, I figured a Berlanga fight might do somewhere in between 4, 5,
500,000?
Five.
6 if they're lucky. Canelo Alvarez by himself, off his name value alone, is good for at or around 400 to 500,000 buys. That's irrespective of the opponent. If the opponent can bring some fans of their own to the table, well, maybe you can do about 500 plus, north of 500,000 pay-per-view buys. A lot is made about this being a Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry, so to speak, even though nobody thinks of Edgar as being on the same level as Canelo, and he certainly hasn't proven that. But if he can galvanize some of the Puerto Rican fans, and that is a fiercely loyal fan base, just like the Mexican fans are, then maybe they can do 5, 6. Maybe. It all depends on how the Puerto Rican fans really feel about Edgar Berlanga. Do they actually like his chances? Are they willing to fork over their cash to see him get knocked out? Because I think he's going to get knocked out. I mean, honestly, as far as the fight itself, I don't give Edgar no shot against Canelo. He's going to lose. He's going to get knocked out. A more capable and seasoned fighter in Jaime Munguia, with a lot more rounds, a lot more fights, and a lot more time under the hot lights than Edgar. In Jaime Munguia, he couldn't beat Canelo. I don't think Edgar's going to. No, Edgar's a lot greener than Jaime. I think Canelo's going to stop him. He's going to stop Edgar. Is there going to be any involvement from the PBC on the premise that they're not even the ones providing Canelo with an opponent? No, the opponent is coming to him by way of Matchroom. And Matchroom is just as, if not more capable than the PBC of promoting this show and making sure that people know about it. So you don't think there's going to be any involvement from Amazon Prime? I just don't see why there would be. If they're not the ones providing Canelo with the opponent, then what do you need from them? It's just another hand in a cookie jar. Well, I mean, would be another distributor that would help to distribute the pay-per-view. Yeah, but who's putting up Canelo's guarantee? Who's paying for the show? Because whoever's paying for the show, they might not want to share it with Amazon. And these things matter. I don't know, man. We'll see. Just in keeping with the theme of all things super middleweight, an unexpected bit of news. Top Rank signs former champion Jaime Munguia, according to sources at ESPN. The popular Mexican fighter Jaime Munguia and the company of his promoter, Zanfer Promotions, signed an agreement for multiple fights with the promoter Top Rank of the legendary New York lawyer Bob Arum. Reported sources close to the agreement, which would begin on September 20th, when the former world champion faces Eric Bazinian. Munguia, who comes from fighting with Canelo Alvarez and losing his undefeated record last May, will relaunch his career under the alliance of Top Rank and Zanfer, which had multiple successes in the past with fighters such as Eric Morales, Juan Manuel Marquez, Julio Cesar Chavez, Jose Luis Castillo, Jorge Travieso Arce, Fernando Montiel, and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Jaime Munguia is one of the more popular Mexican fighters. At only 27 years old, he was already a world champion at junior middleweight and is currently venturing into the super middleweight division, where he will be looking for the best combinations, waiting to consecrate himself again as a world monarch. Now in a new division. What do you mean new division? He's been campaigning at 168. Somebody should have told the guy that wrote this article. In any event, I don't think this was Jaime's decision. I don't think it was his decision to make. I think this decision was above his pay grade. I actually think it was Fernando Beltran and the people at Zanfer that decided maybe Top Rank would be the way to go moving forward. They've done all they can do for him at Golden Boy Promotions. They don't have any real options for this fighter, palpable ones, whereas Top Rank, they could build up a Christian Mabili fight. They already have a good working relationship with Queensbury Promotions and access to some of the fighters in that stable, to where maybe you get a Jaime Munguia versus Zach Parker fight, for example. That at this point, Top Rank can do more for Jaime than Golden Boy. I only wonder, will Oscar De La Hoya have the axe to grind for Top Rank that he has to grind for Matchroom? He never got over Canelo Alvarez leaving him for Eddie. He still takes shots at Eddie Hearn periodically. And that's why. Because Canelo left him, and when he did, he went to Eddie. He went to Matchroom. Is he going to feel that way about Bob now that Jaime did the same thing? Granted that it seems to be under more amicable circumstances. All the same, we know Oscar can hold a grudge. He can hold a grudge with two hands. This week it is expected that the announcement of the new agreement between Jaime and Top Rank will be official, which will also come hand in hand with his return to the ring against the upcoming Armenian in Canada, Eric Bazinian, who will reach the contest with an undefeated record of 32-0, one draw,
draw and 23 knockouts. Eric will go for his third contest of the year with a victory and a draw. Munguia will be back in the ring with Eric Morales in the corner, not continuing the relationship he had with Freddie Roach. El Terrible was the official coach, but he had to attend to some political commitments and did not have the time it took to be working with Jaime, so he recommended him to leave for Roach. But now they're back together. Jaime will continue to work with Fernando Beltran's Zanfer Promotions.
I know that a lot of people probably thought of Jaime as being a Golden Boy Promotions fighter, but if you're aware of Zanfer, a very well-to-do outfit south of the border, based out of Mexico, you'll know that they were actually the lead promoter for Jaime.
Oscar and Golden Boy were only acting as a U.S. liaison to get him airtime here in America, but he was always more of a Zanfer fighter than a Golden Boy fighter, and that's why I feel that this decision, it came from Zanfer.
Zanfer's already done a lot of business with Top Rank, and they still do a lot of business with Top Rank. Emmanuel Navarrete is one of their fighters.
You can describe Zanfer and Fernando Beltran as the gatekeepers of Mexican boxing south of the border and Mexican talent, the best around, bringing out the ESPN. And you have to wonder, what are the metrics for Jaime Munguia's next fight going to look like now that he's not on DAZN and he's going to be on the biggest sports network in this country? What are his viewing figures going to look like? At a time when Shakur Stevenson has so decided to leave Top Rank, Jaime has decided to join them.
I told you they weren't going to lose no sleep if Shakur Stevenson leaves. They've got Abdullah Mason, Shushu Carrington, and now they have Jaime Munguia.
Curious to see what their strategy is going to be for this fighter. What's the bottom line? What's the end game? But I don't doubt that Top Rank can do things for Jaime that at this point Golden Boy can't. They got him to the Canelo Alvarez fight. They got him to the mountaintop.
And he lost. So what now?
And don't forget, the Top Rank, like Golden Boy, just inked a partnership with Turki Al Sheikh for Riyadh season. So they're going to help to supplement the effort and make big fights with and alongside Top Rank. Maybe they could get him Caleb Plant if Caleb ever has this Macumbi fight.
Demetrius Andrade doesn't seem to be doing anything. Maybe they could get him that guy.
I'd give Jaime reasonable odds to beat the both of them. All you got to do is make the fight.
This is good news.
I'll take this as good news that Jaime went to Top Rank. If nothing else, it's intriguing.